Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Kev Play. This is Kevin, and we are on episode 47 of The Last of Us Part 2. Uh, Last time we were doing pretty much this because we were talking a lot, but we're on our way to catch up with Lev, who's trying to catch up with her to get to um, their mom, and and this is like a Seraphite camp, and also the WLF is being led by Isaac to attack this camp. So we're kind of in the middle of all this right now. Um, but yeah, Happy New Year, Happy New Year 2025. It seems like such a futuristic year, 25 years after the millennium. 20 like I honestly it was funny, like I was at a party, my friend had us over, and we rang in the new year, all that. As soon as the next morning, because I stayed there, um, we walk out into the street, and the first thing I hear is this like UFO type like hover sound, and I'm like, "What is that?" And then I realize it's a Tesla. I'd never realized like the Tesla engine sounds it sounds, it's almost intentionally sounding futuristic the way it sounds, like it has this kind of like hovercraft sound to it, which is kind of interesting. But it was just such a surreal thing, because I was just saying, like, it just feels so surreal that we're in 2025, and 25 years ago, thinking to where we are now, we have phones in our pockets, and I mean, obviously phones in our pockets, but the internet and the advancement of AI and all, like, it's just like we're living in exponentially accelerated times when it comes to our society and technology and everything. It's crazy. It's moving fast. I feel like in our lifetime, it's going to be by the end of our lifetime, it's going to be like a totally different world. Hey, Peppa Pig, Happy New Year. How's it going? I know it's been a couple weeks. The holidays kind of just got me all wrapped up, and especially end of year at my job is very stressful and demanding. So finally have time to, like, I'm off work today, so I figured let's start 2025 off right with an episode. Yeah, Happy New Year. Right before the year ended, I finally completed Kingdom Come Deliverance, so I'm good with that game now. Like, I can put it to bed. I can probably play for a little bit more, just to like do some trophies maybe. But there's no way I'm gonna platinum that game. I would have to do a second playthrough. It's very in depth and stuff. But yeah, I'm done. I have a clean slate right now, where I don't really have anything else to play. Um, until because this year's gonna be loaded with games, I'm sure, as we know. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the sequel, actually comes out like beginning of February, so I'll have a nice month to kind of just settle in and maybe find a backlog game. But at the moment, I'm kind of just like, let's just focus on me for a bit and maybe just play some Let's Plays and stuff. And but yeah, I want to see my pills here. Oh, we can finally get health, increased health. That's what I've been wanting for like the longest time. So let's get that. And then faster health kits, that would be nice. But what else have we got? Craft more hunting pistol ammo. That'd be good. Improve melee weapon upgrades. Yeah, I'll go for the craft faster health kits. I got some games for Christmas. Okay, lay it on me. I didn't get any games. I got more like DVDs, like shows or Blu-rays. Like I got the complete series of Succession on Blu-ray, which I've already seen, but like that's like a shelf-worthy show for me that I'd love to have physically. I got the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I didn't get any games really at all. That okay, so we have 10 left of that. Metaphor and Hades. Okay. I've never touched. Obviously, I've never played Metaphor, but Hades, I remember being praised back when it came out. I've never played that, but that's interesting. I hope you have fun with it. Let me know how it goes. You know. I want to. So we're gonna do what we were doing last time with our top 10 90s. We're gonna continue that. Before we do that, I want to kind of, I guess, recap the games I've played this year and kind of announce my game of the year. Um, but we'll do that right off the bat, and then we can have a little discussion, and then we can go forth with what we were doing. I played Metaphor. I feel like it's going to take some time to get into. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. Don't worry, I still have what you listed as your number 10 and number 9 spot, so I'll remind you, and I'll give you time to think about your next choices. But yeah, for game of the year though, I didn't. It was a light year for me in terms of new games. It was kind of for me 2024. As many great games spoke to a lot of people, I took it as an opportunity to backlog my games, like explore my backlog a bit. I went through Metal Gear Solid collection. I went through the BioShock collection. I went through Kingdom Come Deliverance. Older games, these games came out. Metal Gear Solid collection. I wouldn't even though that collection came out in 2023. I wouldn't count that as a. Those are older games, like so. But yeah, I went through the BioShock collection and Kingdom Come. But the newer games, it was kind of a few games that I played. Not much. That's got to be a 2024 game that stood out. Oh yeah, there definitely is. So let's go into what I played. And there's two. I mean, this honestly, like, it's going to be sort of obvious, but honestly, there is a contender between two. But to get one out of the way, which I don't think is a game of the year contender at all, but I think it's a good game. I think it got. I didn't think it got a fair. I don't think it got a fair shake with critics. Uh, but South Park Snow Day. It's not up to snuff when you compare it to, say, a Fractured Butthole or a Stick of Truth, but it's a good game. It's a solid game. You can play it offline. Oh, never mind. I know what it is. It's a good game, but obviously, if you hold it to the standard of those games, yeah, it's not great. It's a good game, but not great, I would say. But it's definitely better than what a lot of the critics were saying. It's a fun game. It's a different genre, so obviously that's a complete tone shift from what we're used to with the kind of what's it called? What's it called? Roguelike or roguelite or I forget what the term is, but it's very similar to like God of War Valhalla or Returnal, where you're playing and it takes you through a story, but it generates the missions at random for you, and there's different ways to go about it, and there's different characters you can choose from, and different class. Or no, you play as the new kid, but you can be different classes, and you have a whole skill tree, and it was fun. Southwest Snow Day. My brother got that game for his birthday a year ago. Okay, a year ago. Well, it came out February. Yeah, so it is a year ago, pretty much. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a game that encourages to be played with with friends online, but you can play completely offline. When the servers go down, you will be able to play it offline forever. So that's a plus in this live service heavy era that we're in. Um, and yeah, honestly, like it was a fun story. It was still like South Park's writing. And honestly, I will always say this: licensed games of like adult animated cartoons. It's hard. It's very rare these days. The Simpsons hasn't had a game since 2007 on the console. Um, South Park is like kind of the it was very prominent in the last gen during the PS4 gen, Xbox One gen. Um, but it's good to see that there's still games like that. Like if they made like a new Futurama game or a King of the Hill game or even a Bob's Burgers game, I would play it. I would pick it up regard like I would weigh the consideration of the reviews, but at the end of the day, it is a luxury to have a game like that, and it's nothing to sneeze at. So I enjoyed that game for what it's worth. Okay, so they're saying I can go through here, but they're also allowing. It looks like she's gonna hoist me. Um, but yeah, other than that, South Park Snow Day I really enjoyed, especially the ending, and the game also ties into the show in a way, into what's going on in the current seasons or like one of the more recent seasons. So it was interesting, and I like that. I guess those days of licensed games are over. Yeah, it's hard to come by. I mean, we got Hogwarts Legacy last year, which is a Harry Potter world game. It's not actually Harry Potter himself, but it's the license of Harry Potter, and that was my game of the year last year. Um, Spider-Man, obviously, that's a first-party game, first-party studio game. But hey, if they're gonna come out with I'm not a Marvel movie guy. I think it's a little oversaturated. But when it comes to Marvel games or any superhero games and it's done well, I'll definitely be on board for them because um, the production of video games of AAA quality and uh, big budget, and if for it to turn out good, that's not something to ignore. I think with the way the games are kind of in a renaissance with storytelling and stuff, and kind of becoming commercial, uh, uh, you know, in cross mediums, like with television and movies and stuff. I think it's like important almost as a gamer and a fan of stories to kind of be uh to expose yourself to um what's being done right in the industry and in the creative field of storytelling. So I think the Spider-Man games are great, but and that's hope for the future for more licensed stuff. The more the more successful licensed games, the more hope there is going forth. But all right, so let's see what happens here. Is this gonna be locked? Okay.
Not that way. They'll see us.
Yeah. So then obviously we know the other two games. And they honestly they were complete bangers for me. Um, right off the bat, I'll say Helldivers 2. What a surprise the success that game had as a live service game. Obviously, it's a sequel. It completely changed its perspective. It used to be the first game was a top-down uh, cooperative multiplayer game. This one, it's the third person. Uh, I love that game. I'm still playing it to this day. It's a great game to fall back on. They're releasing the stuff they're releasing. The content is always good. Like they just came out with like the Killzone package where you can get like the Hellgas equipment and the rifle and all that stuff. I definitely you feel like you need to play Helldivers 2. Yes, I definitely recommend. It's such a fun physics based chaotic game. Like the fact that there's like friendly fire, and for your team to kind of just get swallowed up by like the enemy, or like for your teammates to like kill you or something by accident. There's so much chaos in that game that even when you fail at what you're trying to do, it's fun as hell. It reminds me of how games used to be, kind of like in the early Halo days of Halo multiplayer. And it's also filling that void of what I always wanted out of a PlayStation shooter with kind of like um, obviously the quality. We always had Killzone and Resistance, but I was always such a lover of like the Halo games. Now they added like kind of like a Warthog, where someone can drive and someone can gun and be in the passenger seat. So it's filling that kind of like dream that I always wanted for the PlayStation to have a game like that. Um, but also be unique and not just be a straight up copy. It's its own thing. It's completely fun. I platinumed it earlier this year. I also platinumed South Park Snow Day. But yeah, I platinumed Helldivers 2. And that game is just so much fun to just pop in and play, and there's just so much incentive to keep playing too because there's just so much to earn without having to pay for anything. Like, yeah, Helldivers 2 was a treat. Um, I plan to on this downtime probably play some more of it before in this following in this January as we lead up to like February. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely that was definitely a game. It's it had its ups and downs. You know, it tried. I remember there was a whole controversy where when it came out, where the servers weren't maintaining the the player base because I don't think Arrowhead, the studio, was anticipating so much attention for this game that they got. But then they fixed that rather, you know, it took a while, but they eventually got it right. And then obviously there was controversy with making PC players have to sign into a PSN account, which honestly I think is a non-issue. Like whatever, you know, Rockstar does it, Ubisoft does it, EA does it, Xbox does it for any of their like core games. And you're getting a lot anyway with a PSN account. You're getting the trophy system. You're getting all that support. I honestly think PC player Epic Games exactly. I think PC players they're very gatekeepy and very sensitive to how their ecosystem is. But I think they should be grateful when we're in an era now where PlayStation has made a lot of their multiplayer games crossplay. Not even just PlayStation, but most games are crossplay by default now when it comes to a multiplayer based game. So a Sony game that's offering this quality type of game, it's something. It's a pill you can swallow, I think. But beyond that, yeah, the game has been fun. Have been enjoying it a lot.
It's here. Come on.
How's the arm?
Hurts.
And then, of course, there's the other contender. Helldivers 2 is certainly a contender. But Astrobot. What a surprise. Astrobot, when it originally was announced, when we found out about it in summer, I was like, okay, I'll get it. I like platformers. I liked Astro's Playroom. It's a small game. Whatever, I'll get it. Sure. It's a PlayStation game. It's the only PlayStation game coming out this PlayStation single player game coming out this year that speaks to me. Sure, I'll get it. I was not expecting to be completely floored, absolutely floored by the quality of this game. Not just it goes beyond the the fun of collecting all the PlayStation IP characters, the nostalgia, but the platforming, the game itself, the physics, the way it's always keeping you on your toes. It's always changing how you play and it rewards that childhood curiosity. The game made me tear up at the very end with what happens at the very end with what Astro decides to do. It really was like a Pixar like type of game where it doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult, it speaks to your inner child, and especially to that inner child that loves games. Um, it's a game that made me think, oh my god, if Spyro 4 comes out, I would love Spyro 4 to light the world on fire the same way Astrobot did. Like Toys for Bob have to like they did a great job with Crash 4, uh, but they need to step their. I feel like Toys for Bob needs to get inspired by what Astrobot has accomplished here and really capture the hearts and minds of not just their the Spyro fans or the Crash fans, but of platformers fans or PlayStation fans. Like um, Astrobot proved that you can come out with a a game that isn't very story heavy, that's gameplay focused, that's a platformer at heart, um, and colorful and vibrant, and you can come out with a game and then you can win Game of the Year at the one of the most watched award shows. Uh, that's very promising for the genre, and I hope Toys R Bob takes inspiration from it and does something beyond what we can expect from what we're used to in or what we would want in a Crash game or a Spyro game. But go above and beyond, show push the limits of the tech of the technical limits of the game. Like try to be innovative and with what you can do with platforming or with exploring and stuff like that, because Astrobot just 100% nailed it. One of my favorite platformers of all time, and for that you can tell pretty much that yes, Helldivers 2 and Astrobot are two big games that I love. As much as I love Helldivers 2, it is a game where it's like if you play it for hours and hours and hours, you're gonna have a blast. But eventually, it's gonna wear on you. It gets a little repetitive. The game in and of itself is addicting and fun and perfect, but it's still the same thing over and over that you play. Whereas Astrobot, it's like every single level is different. The whole package is just a complete. There's so many layers to the enjoyment of the package. And it's a short game that respects your time. I was smiling ear to ear with it. It's just Astrobot to me is just I'm just much more impressed with what it accomplished. Helldivers 2 accomplished a lot. I'm also impressed with it, but it's like when you play a game, like Tetris is considered one of the greatest video games of all time, and it will always be that. And it's fun as hell, and it's addicting, and it's challenging, and it's stimulating. But you could put down Tetris for a while and then come back to it later, and then have that fun again. But you're not that's what Helldivers 2 is to me. It's like I'll play for a good stretch, and then I'll put it down, and then I'll come back to it a little later, and I'll play it, and I'm still having as much fun as I always did. Whereas Astrobot, there's kind of like a completed package to the it's a single player game too, which is a plus for me. So I personally think Astrobot's my game of the year without a doubt. These are the type of games I want, exactly, and I hope this sends a message, especially when It Takes Two won Game of the Year too. That's another game that's the kind of game you kind of want to see win Game of the Year also. A co-op game of all things, that is also kind of platformer, puzzle-based type game. Something that isn't always the same thing where it's like a great, I love your Naughty Dog games or your God of Wars or Ghost of Tsushima or Death Stranding, like those big AAA, very mature, story-driven narratives. I love those games too, but those are always going to be successful, and I think PlayStation is the perfect ecosystem for it to thrive. But I like to see other types of games thrive too, so it's good to see. I just love everything about this game, the cameos, the gameplay, all of it. It's excellent. Honestly, it's definitely up there. Yeah, and it's yours too, without a question. I'm so like I'm just shocked. I wasn't. I was expecting to enjoy it. I wasn't expecting to be floored by it as I was. But yeah, game of the year is 2020 for 2024 is Astrobot without a doubt. And just to rattle things off, I know I'm prattling on here, but 1995 was Twisted Metal. I'm going off the top of my head here. Crash Bandicoot was 1996. 1997 was Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. 1998 is Spyro the Dragon. 1999 is Crash Team Racing. 2000 is what was 2000? I have my list here. Let me see. 2000 Spyro Year of the Dragon. 2001 Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. 2002 Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. 2003 The Simpsons Hit and Run. 2004 Killzone. 2005 Area 51. 2006 Resistance: Fall of Man. 2007 God of War 2. 2008 Resistance 2. 2009 Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. 2010 God of War 3. 2011 Killzone 3. 2012 PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. 2013 The Last of Us. 2014 South Park: The Stick of Truth. 2015 MLB 15 The Show. 2016 Uncharted 4 Thief's End. 2017 Horizon Zero Dawn. 2018 God of War. 2019 Death Stranding. 2020 Ghost of Tsushima. 2021 Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. 2022 God of War Ragnarok. 2023 Hogwarts Legacy, and now 2024, which I'm going to write right now in my little notes here, is Astrobot. Awesome game. Alright, so let's continue. See what we've got here. Let's press on a bit before we continue with our other lists. I just realized you've been playing The Last of Us 2 for almost 2 years. I know. But keep in mind, I was playing this in between Crash Team Rumble, and I was also playing this... I played Chivalry 2 for a few episodes. I still have to get back to continuing that. But yeah, we played it right after Spyro 3, The Last of Us Part 2. We started that. I know we've been playing. You have to remember too. I've been thinking this is a Let's Play, but it's also kind of like a podcast thing. You know what I do, where a lot of it is me talking a lot. A lot of me is stopping to talk, because I don't want to interrupt the cutscenes with my chatter, and vice versa. So.
Abby, help me.
Okay, so we're gonna go this way. Let's just make sure there's nothing of interest around here. I doubt that Naughty Dog would have put a coin to collect when there's such a big story moment right here, but why not just start your own podcast? I mean, I did do it for, like when we were doing Chivalry 2, I was doing like kind of like a 2-man, 3-man little discussion thing, which was interesting, and I would like to continue that in some form. But I do like talking to myself a lot too. I actually do have podcast equipment that I got last year, and I got some more this year. So I'm wondering, I have to tinker with it because I don't have any skills really in video editing or anything. So I don't know if like me being on camera, if I'm on camera at all, it would be like a straight video. I don't know if I would do like an hour long. I don't know. Like I would have to figure out the format. But it's something that I'm definitely asking those questions.
I just tried talking to her. I tried to make her understand. But she just kept yelling. She started chasing me. I tried to make her stop. I was just pushing her off of me. She hit the table.
Listen. You were defending yourself. You did nothing wrong. It's gonna be okay, I promise. Yeah, me too. Come on. Hey, kid. Come on. Here.
Yara, I never should have.
It's okay. I'm glad we found you.
This is a rough moment here. I've remembered this as we were leading up to it. It's like we're gonna catch up to our mom. Imagine trying to catch up to your mom in the midst of like all this chaos, and she rejects you. Regardless of who you are, who you know, your orientation, what you've done, it's insane how you can't love someone for who you are as a person and just completely reject someone for whatever values or whatever. And obviously they're in a cult, but this is just like a sad moment. Great performances, by the way, by Lev and Gara here.
Let's go.
What's happening?
Wolves? All over the island. We'll be okay. She protects us.
Shouldn't we head back for our boat?
No, I hear fighting back there.
I hear fighting everywhere.
There are lots of boats in Haven.
That's what I was thinking. We can cut through Old Town, avoid the main roads.
How far's Haven?
Not close, but it's our best chance. Just keep following us.
Lead the way.
So I'll get into my number 8 or yeah, because we did our number 10 and our number 9. So what was I'm gonna recap what we did. So for my number 10, it was Twisted Metal 3 for the top 90s desert island games for the decade. And my number 9 was Mega Man Legends. Your top 10, or your number 10 was Super Mario 64, and your number 9 was Tekken 3. So you can take your time to, while I talk about my number 8 for what your number 8 could be, but I'll go into my number 8. My number 8 for the 90s is Frogger, which is the 3D Frogger that came out by Hasbro Interactive in 1997. This was not a game that I got by accident. This was a game I actively wanted. And it had nothing to do with any past experience. I played Frogger at arcade games, like the original Frogger, but it didn't. Me wanting this game didn't have anything to do with any experience with playing any of the older Frogger games in the past, like the original. My neighbor next door had this game, this 3D Frogger game, where it's it is top down, just like the classic Frogger, but it's like kind of like a 3D, still like a 3D game. I was addicted to this game when I would go over to my friend's house to play it. It had this novelty of first of all, I'll just say right off the bat, I've never beaten this game. It's really, really hard. But it's a game where it had that arcade style where if you can complete certain stages, you unlock more stages. And that was the fun of the game for the single player of it, was just seeing how many stages you can unlock for yourself before it got too crushingly difficult. That was always fun. That was always kind of like a bragging rights thing with like my friends, or like, you know, like, oh, I got to this level. I got to, like, seeing a completely different level type or a different environment. You know, because it starts you off with like the classic, like, trying to cross the road levels, but then you get like ice levels where you're literally ice skating. There's like industrial levels, toxic waste levels, like where you're in the sewer. There's like a forest level where you're like avoiding bees, like from the beehives and stuff. A lot of fun. The music is like a jam. If you listen to the Frogger soundtrack from 1997, it's some of the jazziest, like boppiest music. And with such great bass, it reminds me. It's not the sound of like what Spyro sounds like, but it reminds me of kind of like how Stuart Copeland like synthesized this really awesome soundtrack. That's what the Frogger soundtrack is too. It holds its own. It's very unique and distinct. It's also a game that has multiplayer. And you can play the multiplayer. I think you can play up to 4 players, but most of the time I just had the 2 players because I didn't have a multi-tap. But you can play 2 players, and it was fun because like you can like screw with your opponent by jumping on top of them, and when you jump on top of them, it makes the player lose control of the frog character, so they can't move. So like, if you're like in the street and the trucks are going by and the cars, you can jump on top of your opponent and land on him and wait for the car to come, and then you can jump off right like as soon as it's about to hit, and then you dodge it while your buddy gets killed, and then they would have to start over again. I think like the multiplayer, like the point of objective was to kind of try to collect as many like baby frogs at the end of the level as you can. Like it was basically like a race, where you can kind of strategize and kind of like try to see if you can like throw your the second player off or not. But that was a fun game. I really I just have a lot of memories about that game. It was one of those games where it's like, like the main menu music was very atmospheric and ethereal, and it was a game that, because there was a sequel too. There was a Frogger 2 that came out. I never played it. I never got it. And then eventually, I think they did what they did with like Rayman, where Rayman started off as like a 2D side scroller, and then Rayman became like a 3D platformer. A 3D platformer as opposed to a 2D. And then that's sort of what they did with Frogger in the later games, where they took like the 3D concept that was already established with like the mix of like the classic arcade that was in 3D, and then they actually made Frogger into like a platformer where he's like running around, similar to like Rayman Legends. It was weird. It's almost like people really took to the character being in 3D, but then whoever was in control of like the IP just lost sight of what makes Frogger Frogger. They thought, oh, let's try to make this into a mascot platformer, and I think that was a mistake. But this original, the 3D Frogger that came out in 1997 was an awesome game, and it's a game that it's hard as hell. I can never beat it. It's like Rayman. I will never beat it, but it's a fun ass game, and the multiplayer is fun, and it's just there's nothing more to it. It's just a game that I would definitely add to the island, add to the list of my island games. So that's my number 8. I don't know. What do you think? Like, what do you think for number 8 for yourself?
How's your arm?
Arm's fine. I'm just tired.
Yara, Mom believed with all her heart.
I know.
Then why would this happen to her?
Our faith doesn't make us immortal. Loss is around every corner. But our faith guides us, find the strength to rise above that loss.
She guides us.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt that kind of moving motivational speech there to rise up and kind of overcome the evil and the awfulness that happens. But yeah, okay, number 8 is Smash Bros. 64. Very interesting. But good pick for number 8. Never played Frogger, though. It was it was definitely popular during the 90s, Frogger, that particular Frogger. It was, it was very commercial. I think it actually sold pretty well, because a lot of people had it. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. 64, definite, great ass pick. That's a game that I will, to this day, play. I played it earlier this year because my friend has like the modded copy. But we always, even before he had the modded copy, we would always play the original. I never really, honestly, compared to all the Super Smash Bros. Games, I always gravitate to the original. I know it's more fun to play as like more characters and stuff, but there's something about the controls and the physics and all that it just appeals to me with the original game. Now for the first Super Smash Bros. Game, it's actually surprisingly decent. Yeah, it's not like a Crash Bandicoot 1 compared to its sequels. It's actually like a game that holds up and is actually a great game on its own. Not saying that Crash Bandicoot's bad, but you know what I mean. Like, it's a little janky compared to like the sequels, but yeah, the first game is great. I love that game. I would always. Who would you main as? Who was like your main person that you would always play as? Me personally, it was Pikachu. I just like his zippiness, his like agility, and I used to be the guy that would spam the Thunderbolt, like the Thunderbolt that comes straight from the sky and down, because obviously that's a big damage. But it took a while for me to learn the actual like I guess, what do you call it? Like your super move, like your smash move, basically, that would knock people off the map like crazy. And that's the one that like shoots out the electricity into like a bowl from like left to right. Great move to do like when you're edge guarding. But yeah, and then like it was just always fun to like spam the Thunder Shock if you're at a distance. And then also, I love jumping in the air and kind of going into that like whirlwind thunder. It's like a whirlwind lightning, whirlwind of electricity when you jump and catch someone, and you kind of like hold them in the air as you go. Like there's the movesets for Pikachu are just, for me, a blast. You're Kirby. Okay, so my friend Siegfried, who's one of the guys I talked to on Chivalry, his main is Kirby. That's another one that would probably be like, if I had to not choose Pikachu, Kirby would be one of the other choices, because Kirby, I like his floatiness. I like the brick that he turns into as he falls. Him sucking people into his mouth and then becoming or taking on some of their movesets or whatever. Kirby's a lot of fun. Like, sure, it's not my favorite Smash Bros. Game, and yeah, that's true. I have played the other games and they are great too, but there's just something where it's weird. If you gave me a choice, I think a lot of the people I play with are more akin to the original, so I think we would enjoy ourselves more with the original. but I played the GameCube version, Melee and Brawl, and then I played a little bit of what's the latest one? Oh, Ultimate. I played a little bit of Ultimate at a game, kind of a game store or whatever, but the controller was kind of a turn off because it's so tiny. But yeah, Brawl was a lot of fun. Melee is good. I think I like Brawl better than Melee. I used to play Brawl a lot in my high school years with friends, and it gets chaotic as hell. But again, I would main as Pikachu. See what we got here. Now I will admit, I'll just say this to kind of move things along, but I guess I won't go into it too much when we get to it. But what was I gonna say? Hold on. Super Smash Bros. 64 is actually on my list. So it is on my list as well, which we will get to at a certain point. But I'll reveal it when we get to it, and I won't talk too much about it when we do, because we already pretty much covered it. But what do we have here? Just want to see. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's probably in my top 5, so I won't announce anything further beyond that. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. 64. It's in my. It's a little bit more down my list in terms of the rankings of it. But yeah, that's a good choice. That's your 8. Okay. My 7. Did I just come through this door? I did, right? Okay. My 7 is... Okay, so my 7 is... Now... Hold on. Sounds like people are coming after us along. Okay, so before we continue, my 7... And I can choose any of these 3 games that aired or that released during the 90s, but this one in particular I think builds upon the first 2, and that is Pokemon Yellow, where you get Pikachu to follow around with you. Speaking of Pikachu, because I was speaking about him before, but I love my first Pokemon game was Pokemon Red. I never had Blue. Obviously, you had to have Blue to trade with other people to collect all the 150 Pokemon. But Pokemon Yellow was a game I did get next that kind of immersed you more into what the TV show does with, Ash having Pikachu out of the Pokeball and following you around. It seemed to be a little bit more inspired by the show as compared to what Red and Blue were doing. But Pokemon Yellow was a blast. It was my first, what they call baby's first RPG, but it was addicting as hell. These games came out when I was in elementary school, and we were obsessed. Like, everybody in the schoolyard, like, everybody had a Game Boy Color or a Game Boy on their desk at school. And the teachers hated that. They would tell you to put it away, and, but it was so... obviously, it's so addicting, but the novelty of it at first, being because when it came out, Pokemon Yellow came out in 1999, so I'm 9 years old at that point. So it's perfect time for these games to come out for me. I'm a kid. I got my Game Boy Color. Pokemon Yellow is a blast. I haven't played it in a long time, obviously, so I can't. I would be interested to replay it again to kind of relearn the differences between Red and Yellow, or Red/Blue and Yellow, because other than Pikachu being there with you, and I know the sprites look different, were more updated with a different animation or a different design. I'm so curious what other little small subtle changes there might have been in that as that third entry into the series. But yeah, that would be my number 7. Is Pokemon Yellow. A lot of fun game that I would complete. I, if they had platinum trophies back in the day, I definitely got it for both Red and Yellow. A lot of fun.
Under the door.
Did you ever play those games? And if not, you can go into your number 7. Okay. I remember playing a Pokemon game way back in the day. It's been a while, obviously.
People behind.
But
We can't help them. I know. Stay close to me.
But any Pokemon game in the 90s was like a touchstone game for kids back then. Like for me, like that was a big game to play. You could get lost in it for hours, even beyond beating it, leveling up your party and all that. It was a lot of fun. And honestly, if I was on a desert island and I had to choose something beyond the PlayStation games that I love, and a Pokemon game would be fun. I would definitely want Pokemon Yellow because it was the more recent one, and I feel like it learned a lot from Red and Blue to kind of improve on some things. So yeah, that would be mine. It was on Game Boy Color. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, okay. Yeah, Pokemon Yellow, like, when Pokemon Yellow came out, like, when you originally had Red and you saw, like, other people started to get Yellow, like, you already understood it, even as a kid, that if someone had Blue, it didn't really matter. You were playing the same game with Red. It was just slightly different, with different types of Pokemon in it that were available. But when Yellow came out, that was, like, kind of, like, the first, like, even though it was still that first-gen Pokemon, it was, like, the first game that felt like a sequel, even though you were replaying the original version over again. But it was still like the improvements warranted getting it, other than getting Red versus Blue. So, oh god, there's a lot of bloodshed here.
Abby, this way.
Your number 7 is Donkey Kong Country 1. That's interesting. Okay, my memories of I only know 2 people who play where I remember being in the room when Donkey Kong Country was being played, and that's with my older cousin and one of my elementary school friends would play it when I went over his house. I remember I was playing it for a while when I was at my older cousin's house, though. And I remember when Crash Bandicoot came out, I remember thinking, "Oh, it's like another jungle game where you're playing as like an animal." It's like the first thing I thought of before I ever played any of the Crash Bandicoot games is this is very like I wonder if this is going to be like Donkey Kong Country. Now I've never finished the game, but from what I've played, it's really good. Okay, yeah, I've never played it. I mean, I've played it briefly, very briefly. To like, I was like a small child at that point. When did that game come out? That's the side-scrolling one, right? Where it's kind of like, it's kind of like 2.5D, like side-scroller, but kind of 3D in a way. Where am I going? Oh, I'm going down here. 94. Okay, so that definitely makes sense then. Because when I got Crash Bandicoot 2 for the first time, that was my first game. God. I got Crash Bandicoot 2, and I remember thinking, oh, this is going to be like Donkey Kong Country or something, like a Donkey Kong game. And obviously it was different, but I just remember thinking it was like the same kind of like the aesthetic was similar with like the jungle aesthetic. Game I never beat either, obviously, but I did play it for a good time at my older cousin's house. One of my memories from this older cousin in general is his controllers were like destroyed. I don't know what he was playing that would make him so angry that he was like throwing his controllers around, but I just remember like the buttons were all out of it. That's probably why I couldn't even like complete the game, probably because the controller I was playing with was not up to snuff.
We're going a different way.
I played it on the Switch. I had fun with it, but never finished it for some reason. Okay, I mean, you're playing an older game on newer hardware, so you're probably like just overwhelmed with how many other games there are at the moment. I would imagine that's usually what distracts me from getting to all these great games of the past. But Donkey Kong Country, that's a great decision there. Means I hope to finish it someday.
The alley across the street.
I mean, if you have a Switch, you're in position to. Unlike me, I don't have a Switch. Okay, I came from here. But yeah, that's my number 7. Okay, cool. I guess let me see real quick what I have for, because I have my list, but it's kind of like, oh, you know what? I'll say this. So I'll go into my number 6. My number 6, and I put this here. It's not a game that I played during my childhood, but it's a game I feel, if I'm to be fair to its quality and to the impact it had on games as a medium and also just as, you know, a work of art, I have to put Metal Gear Solid. Playing that game originally, I feel like that would be a game that I would have a blast with as a kid, where I have all the time in the world to play it in different ways and to discover the hidden secrets. Because playing it once through, it was fine, it was great, but I feel like if I played it multiple times, I would find so many more secrets and so much more things that I never knew. My friend tells me so much stuff that happens in these games that you can easily miss. Metal Gear Solid spoke to me. I mean, it's a great like political game. Great stealth. I was a big stealth like stealth tactical shooter guy when I was coming up with games, you know, like say like SOCOM or like the James Bond games. So Metal Gear Solid's right up my alley. It's cool for the time, like, and it's still obviously it's still like a game that very beloved. Solid Snake, classic character. Playing like the different bosses are such a draw because they're so cool and so unique and so like creative. You know, having Psycho Mantis like read your memory card and stuff like that. Yeah, like if I was on a desert island, I would love to get to, even though I didn't have the deepest nostalgia for the game because I didn't play it as much as a kid. I would love to get to know the game more and become more familiar with it. And I just respect the game for what for it being the quality game that it is. It's something that goes beyond nostalgia. It's a great game, I think. Obviously, it's from a different era, so there's a little bit of rough around the edges-ness to it, especially their first one. But it's a game that I can tell by playing that I would have been all over it as a kid, and that even as an adult I find it to be very thought-provoking and fun and trying to think of that last adjective. There's different ways to approach the gameplay. It's varied gameplay that I really like. Different ways you can choose to go about things. And I just love the story. I just love like the, talking through like the little transmissions you get through the codec. It's awesome. For me, I suck at the game. So, did you ever beat the first game? I think you were trying to play through it, but you were having a little tough time. You said, right?
Come on.
Are the wolves still nearby?
I'm literally halfway. Okay.
Just keep
Oh
going.
yeah, that's right. I remember you saying that because it's like the physical disc are 2 discs, so you're literally at like the intermission where the first disc ends, and then you start up the second disc if you were to play it. But I think you have the Master Collection, right? Which I never played it on the Master Collection yet. I only played it the original PS1 version because I kind of wanted that experience of playing like the whole memory card thing and like what Psycho Mantis does and stuff, and like looking at the back of the case. Even though the Master Collection, if you got the physical, it has this hint at the back of the case that the game kind of like asks you to look at. But yeah, that's cool. I guess we'll go for your number 6, and then we'll end there for this episode. So, what would you choose as your number 6? Number 6 is Am I pronouncing it right? Einhander or Einhander? I think that's how you pronounce it, right? This is weird because I could have sworn that I heard this game come up in some podcast or maybe a friend was talking about it recently. So it's Einhander. So what is that game? I actually know virtually nothing about this game. And when did it come out? And I'll look into it for next episode too, just so I can like kind of give some thoughts.
This way.
Got one! Abby?
Yara! Yara, get up! Yara, please!
We need to move.
Come on! I can't leave her here! Stay back! Drop it! Now!
Holy shit.
It's Abby! Stay back!
Stand down.
Isaac.
What the hell are you doing?
I need you to hear me out.
What's that behind you?
He saved my life.
Move out of the way. We'll deal with you back home.
He's not one of them, please.
Abby, move.
God damn it, he's just a kid!
You have 3 seconds to get away from that scar. 1,
You really gonna shoot me?
2.
I'm not fucking moving.
No!
What the fuck?
Liv, we need to move.
She's gone. Oh my god, she's gone. Come on. Those were your fucking people.
Hey, you're my people! Listen to me. We're gonna have to fight to get out of this, okay? And then I need you to show us to those boats. We don't let anybody stop us. Yeah? Okay. Okay. Follow me.
Ooh. Sorry, That was huge. I actually forgot for the longest time. I forgot I knew that we were going to run into Isaac. I forgot what the outcome of that was, and oh my god, it's insane that he was about to kill Lev. I just can't believe that they did Yara like that. This game is brutal. But holy shit, like this game. I'm sorry, like I can't. I'm almost like thrown off for a second. Like they had such a great moment with Yara telling Lev, like, it's not your, that whole where she's trying to calm Lev down after what happened with the mom. Very cathartic moment. Lev obviously now the poor kid is gonna have so much trauma and guilt over what what circumstances have unfolded here. We're out here because to catch up with Lev. He made the choice to come out here. Obviously he doesn't know what's gonna happen, but crazy. This show, oh my god, the HBO show doing this scene is gonna be the amount of violence and just dread and trauma that this game goes through, like what the characters have to go through. It's very unforgiving. It's brutal. It's God. I feel like I'll have to recap this next time, but I don't want to rob you of Einhander. So it's a side-scrolling space shooter developed by Squaresoft in 1994, and Squaresoft became Square Enix later on, right? And it's one of the first PS1 games you ever played. You were 3 years old. See, I think I was playing I didn't have consoles or real official handheld games when I was that young. I had maybe the old bowling handheld, where you played bowling, but it was a digital. It was a analog. No, not analog. I don't even know how to explain it. I remember having the Disney games where it was Toy Story, but it was weird. It was not electronic, but kind of was. It wasn't a screen where something was happening. It was just weird. I don't know. I can't. I would have to look it up. But I just had those very old type of handheld stuff that weren't even before Game Boy. That's all I had really. And maybe I played something at an arcade or something. But yeah, Einhander. Now this game is incredibly hard. I died so many times. Yeah, I'm thinking a game from Squaresoft in 1994. It was definitely probably not creating. They were probably not creating games that would hold your hand. Games of that era were just of a different stripe, where they would depend on the player just discovering things on their own without having anything explained to them. They're kind of players are just kind of thrown to the wolves, and you just kind of have to figure it out. And if you don't, then too bad, But I only beat it because I used an emulator and Rewind. Okay, so you were able to use save states in order to do it. That's interesting. The soundtrack was good. Had a techno style to it. Okay. Soundtracks, video game soundtracks are they play a huge part for me. If a soundtrack is really good, that can make up almost all the game for me. Part of why I'm really looking forward to a Spyro 4 is because I want to see what Stuart Copeland brings to the table, with his soundtrack. Astrobot had a great, which was my, which I just announced as my game of the year for 2024. Great soundtrack. It's one of those soundtracks that I will play when I'm working out, or just to listen to leisurely. Some soundtracks just kind of serve the game rather than just being a great listen to listen to solo on your own, independently from the game. But a great soundtrack you can do both, where it serves the game, but it also is like you can listen to it independently. Those are usually my favorite soundtracks. I wish there was a two-player mode. I feel like it could be a blast with a friend. So you said it was what type of game? It's like a shooter, like a space shooter, or RPG. I'm sorry. I like the chat scrolled up, so I can't really see.
Grab what you can.
I have everything I need.
It's a space shooter. So is it like top down or like almost like a Space Invaders type thing, or like an Asteroids type shooter, or it's side. Oh yeah, that's right. You did say side scrolling. So it's more like a Castlevania type game, I guess, right? But with shooting, obviously. I haven't played Castlevania games, but I think you have like a whip or something, or maybe you shoot something. But I'm guessing that's what you mean by a side-scroller shooter. That's cool though for number 6. But yeah, we'll end there. We'll continue this next time, and we'll definitely recap what's happened here because I feel like I can't even process what's just happened. Love's bleeding. Her hands are. He's got blood on his hands, literally. Yeah, that's not your number 6. Okay, so my number. I'll jot these down for later. But my number 10 was Twisted Metal 3. My number 9 was Mega Man Legends. My number 8 is Frogger. My number 7 is Pokemon Yellow, and then my number 5 is Metal Gear Solid. And your number 10 is it's Super Mario 64, and hold on, Super Mario 64. Your number 9 is Tekken 3. Your number 8, off the top of my head, is what was your number 8 again? I'm sorry, I would have to look at it. I'll figure it out. But number 8, I think it was trying to think. I'll have to like replay this. Oh, Smash Brothers 64. That's right. And your number 7 was Donkey Kong Country, and then number 6 is Einhander. Okay, so I will jot down that down for next time. Other than that, we'll end it here. Ran a little long, but we kind of jammed in our game of the year, my game of the year, your and our more of the list. And we'll continue next time. I know we're slowly getting through this, but we're getting through it. Alright, so Peppa Pig, it's been a pleasure. Anyone out there who wants to like, comment, or subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. You can subscribe to KevPlays9490 on YouTube, or follow me on Twitter at Let's Watch Series. Other than that, stay safe, stay healthy, keep a clear head, and keep on gaming. And I'll catch you all next time. Peace out.